Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Is Bill and Brooke's reunion imminent? According to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke Logan was recently turned down by Ridge Forrester once more. What will happen to her now? Is it time to get Brooke and Bill Spencer back together and offer these unmarried ex-partners another chance? It would be good to see Bill discover happiness because he hasn't had a romantic interest in what seems like years. Katie Logan, Heather Tom, refused to give him the reunion he desired, despite Bill's pursuit of her and his hope that they could reunite his family. Ridge refused to give Brooke the reunion she desired, so now she's in the same situation. As they react to one another, this could be the ideal chance for Brooke and Bill to get back in touch. Bill has been involved in Luna Nozawa's tale for some time, of course, but he recently kicked her out of the Spencer home, which took him out of the picture. Bill has done everything he can for Luna, even though he arranged for her to be pardoned. Bill might be prepared for a completely different narrative because Luna's future actions will determine whether she survives or dies. Even if Brooke might end up criticizing Bill for rescuing Luna from prison, that doesn't mean that their relationship will never work out. Brooke might get over what he did really quickly because Bill has been pardoned for much worse things. Ridge's decision to choose Taylor Hayes hurt Brooke, so she will undoubtedly need someone to rely on. Given their long-standing particular affinity, Bill may be the one to console Brooke when she most needs it. Maybe B&B will eventually go back to their love story since Bill and Brooke have a unique understanding of one another that they can't obtain from others. For a while, at least, the stars may align for Brooke and Bill to have a happy ending. Keep checking back for updates on any potential Bill reunion news, as spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful indicate that Brooke will need to make some predictions about her future. Does Taylor have an advantage with Ridge because of broken heart syndrome? According to spoilers and updates for The Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge Forrester has made a big amorous move. However, we can't help but wonder, was Ridge's decision to be with Taylor Hayes rather than Brooke Logan really motivated by her broken heart syndrome? Ridge didn't seem convincing in his response to Brooke's reunion pitch. Ridge didn't exactly portray Taylor as the love of his life when Brooke made her case for a reconciliation. Although Ridge's commitment to Taylor has been widely discussed among B&B fans, this does not always imply that she is his actual love interest. It practically seemed that if Ridge hadn't already committed to Taylor, he might have welcomed Brooke back. In essence, Ridge appears to be too firmly established to back down at this time, and there may be a good reason for it. B&B started a plot where Taylor thought she was having a heart failure crisis when Rebecca Budig made her debut as the new Taylor. When Ridge believed Taylor was dying, he became afraid for her. When Ridge thought he would lose Taylor permanently, he became extremely concerned for her. Thankfully, additional testing revealed that Taylor was, in fact, suffering from broken heart syndrome, which is a serious condition but not as bad as he had previously believed. Ridge, however, was still plagued by guilt about his role in her tragedy and its effects on her health. How could he ever cause Taylor grief again when he was resolved to support her during her recuperation? After giving Taylor hope that they will have a happy future together, Ridge would be completely callous to breach her trust. When was commitment important to Ridge? Has Ridge ever really appreciated commitment? In the past, he has flitted from one lady to another without hesitation due to his impetuous personality. Maybe he is reluctant to go back to Brooke because he wants to keep Taylor's hopes intact and keep her from experiencing heartache. After all, Taylor has been making great strides, and a relapse might cause her to experience another health crisis. Ridge might not want to subject Taylor to that at this point. Ridge might be laying the groundwork for a future reunion with Brooke, even if it might be more detrimental to give Taylor unrealistic expectations. Ridge's decision to choose Taylor over Brooke didn't seem happy. Whatever the case, Ridge didn't appear overly happy about picking Taylor over Brooke. Ridge seemed to think he was making the correct decision, probably because he wanted to put Taylor's welfare first. Taylor may eventually discover that if his true motivations for dating her center on protecting her from future health problems. Although Taylor has been imagining a future with Ridge, their relationship stability may be in jeopardy. Watch for any noteworthy love developments because recent rumors indicate that Ridge and Brooke's tale may not be completed yet. Tensions rise to a head in Hope's hurt and Sheila's ultimatum as long-simmering disputes between major characters erupt into dramatic encounters, requiring tough decisions that may permanently alter relationships. The protagonists of the tale are Sheila, a cunning and manipulative character whose vicious quest for power threatens to sever the brittle ties tying their social circle together, and Hope, a kind but emotionally weak lady who has seen numerous betrayals. As the story progresses, Hope is left emotionally broken and doubting her capacity for forgiveness after suffering a terrible personal blow, a betrayal by someone she held in the highest regard. Sensing vulnerability, Sheila takes advantage of the situation to tighten her hold on everyone in her vicinity and issues a terrifying ultimatum that compels everyone to choose a side, either comply with her demands or suffer irreparable repercussions. Hope's internal conflict as she battles suffering and disillusionment becomes the story's emotional center. She finds it difficult to determine who genuinely has her best interests at heart because of the weight of her prior traumas as well as the imminent betrayal. Although her family and friends encourage her to persevere, Hope begins to doubt herself as a result of Sheila's psychological warfare. Sheila, a skilled manipulator, takes advantage of this weakness by further isolating Hope through gaslighting and false threats. She gives Hope a simple but cruel ultimatum: either she agrees to Sheila's intentions or she would lose access to important support networks, such as social and financial help. Secondary characters are drawn into the conflict as it intensifies, and they all respond to Sheila's demands in different ways. Some grudgingly support her out of fear or self-preservation, while others stand with Hope in resistance after seeing how toxic her control is. In order to answer the question of whether forgiveness is a strength or a weakness in the face of constant manipulation, the novel examines themes of power, loyalty, and resilience. Hope's journey turns into a quest for self-discovery. Will she eventually set limits, even if it means losing the people she previously cared about, or will she continue to be the peacemaker at her own expense? The pivotal moment occurs when Hope decides to reject Sheila's ultimatum and regain her agency following some introspection and support from a reliable ally. Sheila lashes out in reaction, causing quick and serious ramifications, but Hope's defiance encourages others to resist Sheila's power as well. Even if the future is still up in the air, Hope's choice is a watershed, demonstrating that although pain is unavoidable, it need not define her. Meanwhile, Sheila's web of control starts to fall apart, leaving her to face the fallout from her harshness. In the end, Hope's hurt and Sheila's ultimatum is a compelling examination of emotional fortitude and the price of confronting harmful behavior. It draws attention to the difficult but essential process of establishing limits, even if doing so means ending once unbreakable relationships. The narrative conveys a strong message about self-worth and the bravery required to put oneself ahead of pleasing people who enjoy dominance through Hope's journey. The aftermath allows for healing, implying that although betrayal wounds may persist, they can also act as reminders of resilience in the face of hardship. The possible reunion of Brooke and Deacon following 2 heartbreaks. As Ridge chooses Taylor and Deacon's marriage to Sheila breaks down due to her infatuation with Luna, teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful allude to a potential reunion between Brooke and Deacon. Will the passion between these former lovers be reignited? Reunion of Deacons and Brooke on the horizon? While Sheila causes trouble, Ridge picks Taylor. It looks like the stars are finally aligning for a long-awaited reunion. Is Brooke Logan going to be reunited with Deacon Sharp, her ex-boyfriend? Given that several plotlines are coming together to form the ideal storm for these former lovers to reunite, all the evidence points to this probability. Ridge makes his own decisions, and they are sound. Ridge Forrester and his 2 great loves seem to have completed another full circuit of their never-ending merry-go-round. Recent events indicate that Ridge has opted for Taylor Hayes over Brooke once more, causing the blonde beauty to suffer yet another heartbreak. The dressmaker appears to have made up his mind, at least for the time being, despite Brooke's resolute attempts to make amends with Ridge. After years of back and forth between the three, Ridge appears unable to make a firm decision on which of the 3 women he genuinely loves. This decision is stunning. This rejection creates new opportunities for Brooke. How many times, after all, can a woman pursue the same man before deciding it's time to find love elsewhere? The marriage between Deacon and Sheila is hanging by a thread. In the meantime, there has been significant upheaval in Deacon Sharp and Sheila Carter's marriage. The main cause of conflict? Sheila's recent relationship with Luna Nozawa, her granddaughter. Sheila's fixation with Luna has gotten to Deacon's breaking point, and he has even gone so far as to give him a choice between her granddaughter and himself. Their already shaky marriage is on the verge of disintegrating due to this dramatic conflict. Sheila hasn't given up because she's Sheila. Her resolve to pursue a connection with Luna in spite of Deacon's disapproval reveals a lot about her priorities, and the marriage is not looking well. Is history being repeated? Brooke and Deacon would not be the first to find themselves attracted to one another. A passionate romance that led to the birth of their daughter, Hope Logan, is part of their complex past. There has always been an indisputable bond between them, despite the fact that their relationship was controversial at the time. Keep in mind that Deacon was married to Brooke's daughter Bridget when they first started dating. Deacon has declared his love for Brooke in historical events, implying that she has always had a particular place in his heart. According to several fans and sources, Deacon has long seen Brooke as the one who got away. Fan speculation is raging. The prospect of a Brooke and Deacon reunion has already generated a lot of excitement among fans on social media. According to a fan on X, if Sheila keeps putting Luna first, Deacon would break up with her, which could allow him to get back together with Brooke. The timing couldn't be more ideal, both of them might end up unmarried at the same moment, suggesting that things are finally coming together for these ex-lovers. Up next? There is a greater chance than ever for Brooke and Deacon to resume their romance, even though nothing has been confirmed yet. We might see these two examining what might have been if Deacon and Sheila's marriage formally disintegrates and Brooke gives up on Ridge permanently. B&B spoilers: as Hope and Brooke's relationship collapses, Steffi and Taylor's triumphant celebration honors Ridge's decision and the company's victory. The special program on mother-daughter ties that aired on March 27 and highlighted Brooke's role further heightens the suspense. Is Brooke's emotional path toward re-establishing contact with Deacon, the father of her daughter Hope, being set up by this episode? There is little doubt that the bold and the beautiful has never hesitated to re-examine previous romances, particularly those with as much chemistry and history as Brooke and Deacon. Fans will be keeping a close eye out for any indications that these two could end up back together as the plots develop. Because of a poorly written, obsessive obsession that dominates her tale, Brooke's character, once beloved by fans for her complexity, wit, and emotional depth, has sadly been reduced to a one-dimensional shell of her former self. An unhealthy, recurring cycle of desperation, deception, and emotional self-destruction has replaced what was first presented as a passionate, although flawed, romance. This not only undercuts Brooke's prior character growth but also alienates viewers who formerly supported her. Her entire personality has been overtaken by this toxic obsession, which has robbed her of her independence, intelligence, and moral compass in favor of irrational, histrionic behavior that only serves to prolong artificial strife. Instead of becoming a more resilient and self-aware person, Brooke has regressed into a pathetic person who is only known for her incapacity to let go of a relationship that has long since been toxic. The narrative's fixation on portraying Brooke's attachment as romantic rather than neurotic is the main source of the issue. The story rewards her with little moments of reinforcement, perpetuating the toxic notion that love justifies everything, even though she should face repercussions for her increasingly unpredictable actions, lying, plotting, and even destroying the enjoyment of others. This not only destroys the progress Brooke made in previous seasons, but it also conveys a harmful message to viewers. She used to be a person who fought for her honor, learned from her mistakes, and struck a balance between strength and tenderness. Her whole life now revolves on someone who has consistently demonstrated that they do not value her in the same manner, making her a mere pawn in a tiresome, recurring cycle of rejection and pursuit. To make matters worse, this obsession has taken precedence over every other aspect of her existence. A never-ending cycle of jealousy, self-sabotage, and longing has supplanted Brooke's friendships, professional goals, and sense of personal agency. She used to be respected as a wise, complex woman, but now she comes out as weak and naive, with each scene repeating the same old story. No matter how poorly she is treated, she will continue to return for more. This is character assassination, not character development. The authors have imprisoned her in a demeaning, stagnant cycle that only irritates viewers, rather than giving her the opportunity to recover, move on, or even have real issues outside of this toxic dynamic. This decline is more frustrating because it is poor storytelling rather than gripping drama. The repercussions of Brooke's preoccupation would be examined in a really compelling story, making her face the harm she is doing to both herself and other people. It would enable her to reach her lowest point, look for atonement, or even consciously choose a darker course. Rather than growing or completely crumbling, she is trapped in purgatory and keeps making the same mistakes without reflecting on them. The question that remains for the audience is, at what point did Brooke cease to be a character and turn into a story device? When did her own sanity and self-respect take a back seat to her love interest's emotional absence? The authors must end this destructive loop right away if they intend to save Brooke's character. Either enable her to move on and rediscover who she is outside of this suffocating infatuation, or let her obsession lead to a catastrophic wake-up call that demands real change. Not only does continuing on this direction destroy Brooke, but it also belittles the intelligence of those who loved and remembered her in the past. A wonderful character should not be characterized by a morbid infatuation that eliminates all of her enticing qualities. As Hope goes insane, Brooke lashes out. On the March 27, 2025, episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke Logan and her daughter Hope Logan have an explosive confrontation that reveals years of broken trust, conflicting loyalties, and the destructive effects of power struggles within the Forrester-Logan dynasty. This confrontation marks a devastating turning point in their relationship. During Women's History Month, Heather Tom directed the episode, which contrasts two very different mother-daughter relationships, one that is characterized by betrayal and disarray, and the other that is characterized by vengeful joy. The drama centers on Hope's collapsing mental health, which is fueled by her failed corporate coup attempt with Carter Walton and Brooke's decision to stop putting up with her daughter's destructive behavior. This conflict goes beyond personal grudges. It represents the generational repercussions of the Forrester-Logan rivalry as well as the destructive cycles of ambition, manipulation, and emotional neglect that characterize their world 16. Hope's careless partnership with Carter to take over Forrester Creations through a legally questionable LLC, a plan Brooke had cautioned against from the beginning, is what sets off the conflict. As Hope intensifies her accusations against the Forresters, especially Steffi, for her demise, even going so far as to say that the family has no right to their own company, Brooke's contempt reaches a crescendo 12. Hope's inability to accept responsibility for her part in the failed takeover and her misplaced entitlement lead to Brooke's demand that she leave. "I no longer even recognize you." 1. When Hope tries to smack her mother and is stopped by Katie Logan, the action violently escalates, signifying the breakdown of Hope's moral compass and the waning togetherness of the Logan family. In addition to being a response to Hope's behavior, Brooke's rejection is the result of years of witnessing her daughter engage in self-destructive behaviors, including as pursuing Thomas Forrester and her disastrous infatuation with Finn, all while putting vengeance before mending 314. The tragic essence of Hope's character is revealed by her breakdown in Brooke's arms a few seconds later. "I'm sorry, I love you," a woman who has become a shadow of her former self due to loss, her marriage to Liam, her custody of Douglas, and her professional identity. Hope, who was formerly praised for her moral character and hope for the future optimism, now represents the worst traits of the Logan family, including cunning, self-victimization, and emotional irresponsibility. Her own painful experience of abandoning parental instincts for love entanglements, especially with Ridge, Torsten K., whose back and forth between Brooke and Taylor, Rebecca Budig, has long caused family instability, is reflected in Brooke's severe posture. Critics contend that Brooke's allegiance to Ridge has frequently eclipsed her backing for Hope, as evidenced by her quick denunciation of Hope's coup while defending Ridge's own dubious moral ties 310. This dynamic reflects Steffi's constant humiliation of Hope, which the episode contrasts with their triumphant celebration of taking back Forrester Creations, which they enjoy as much for their corporate dominance as for their emotional destruction of Hope 16. Brooke's difficult decision to either allow Hope to continue on her downward spiral in order to maintain their relationship or to cut off links in order to make her daughter take responsibility for her actions is what drives the drama in the story. This reflects Brooke's own history of poor parenting, which included concealing Hope's paternity and putting her sexual partners before her kids. Hope now feeds this cycle by always trying to outsmart Steffi. The episode's examination of how systemic familial dysfunction contributes to mental health crises is its most moving critique. Hope's loss of mind is not just melodrama, rather, it is the result of a series of traumas, including lack of stable parental guidance, professional sabotage, and public humiliation. Although Brooke's outburst was justifiable, it highlights how she used maternal disapproval as a weapon for control rather than addressing Hope's fundamental insecurities. 312. The consequences go beyond their romance, revealing Forrester creations as a battlefield where patriarchal power systems impede women's autonomy. Despite being unethical, Hope's revolution was motivated by her rightful annoyance with Steffi and Ridge ignoring her contributions and treating her like a pawn in their games. 3. Hope's demonization for questioning Forrester authority is comparable to Brooke's history of being called a slut or homewrecker for seeking love. However, rather than completely defending either woman, the program emphasizes how their ingrained misogyny, which pits Logan against Forrester women, continues to cause them pain. Taylor's mother's support for Steffi also seems phony, as it stems from schadenfreude rather than true empowering. 110. Hope's mental and physical breakdown at the end of the episode is both a character assassination and a call for atonement. The authors allude to a time in the future when Hope may abandon her spoiled, entitled persona and regain her autonomy by portraying her breakdown as a springboard for possible progress. Brooke's conflicted response, severe but heartbreaking, indicates a grudging admission of her own responsibility for Hope's demise. Their tense reconciliation, while brief, highlights the major theme of the series: maternal ties continue to be the last tenuous link to humanity in a society where love and treachery are transactional. 112. In the end, Brooke lashes out as Hope loses her mind is a masterwork of soap opera narrative that skillfully combines intense drama with perceptive social criticism. It asks audiences to consider the cost of female ambition in patriarchal systems, recurrent trauma, and the hazy boundary between cruelty and responsibility in familial love. Even though Hope's path is still unclear, the episode's unadulterated emotional content guarantees that her struggle and Brooke's broken loyalty will be remembered long after the credits have rolled. The Bold and the Beautiful's most tiresome narrative merry-go-round is the never-ending love triangle between Ridge Forrester, Brooke Logan, and Taylor Hayes. It is a recurring cycle of betrayal, reunion, and emotional whiplash that impedes character development and imprisons three interesting characters in a storytelling void. With each iteration eroding more of the character's autonomy, intelligence, and dignity in favor of a plot device that ought to have been retired years ago, this trinity of tortured romance, which has dominated the soap opera landscape for more than 30 years, has long since crossed the line from dramatic tension into self-parody. In addition to rehashing old wounds, the most recent revival of this stale dynamic, which was triggered by Ridge's most recent back and forth between the two women, actively regresses all three characters, making them into dreary versions of their former selves and demeaning the audience's intelligence with dialogue that hasn't changed since the 1990s. The basic deterioration of what formerly made these characters intriguing is at the core of this narrative failure. Once depicted as a resolute, yet imperfect, fashion entrepreneur caught between stability and passion, Ridge has turned into an emotionally stunted manchild who is unable to make decisions without outside pressure or short-term convenience. He is no longer a leading guy but rather a passive prop shifted between two women who deserve better, since his constant hesitation no longer reads as love conflict but rather as a neurotic incapacity to evolve. The fiery Logan sister Brooke, who used tenacity and economic savvy to create an empire, has been reduced to a whimpering shell of her former self, with all of her identity now centered around Ridge's love and without the ferocious independence that previously characterized her. Once a powerful counterpoint to Brooke's emotional intensity, Taylor, the brilliant psychiatrist, now serves largely as a plot device to prolong the triangle. Her professional achievements and personal development are routinely sacrificed whenever the writers need to rekindle romantic tension. The blatantly fabricated nature of the battle is what makes this most recent version so heinous. Instead of natural progressions brought about by character decisions, we are given the same rehashed beats. Brooke reacts with jealous insecurity, Taylor conveniently returns as his voice of reason, Ridge distances himself from Brooke over a small slight, and the cycle repeats. Longtime viewers could write the scenes themselves because the dialogue has become so cliched, Taylor's ecstatic speeches about fate, Brooke's heartfelt declarations about true love, Ridge's vacuous declarations about being torn between two incredible women. There is no change, no fresh understanding of why these characters continue to make the same mistakes, just the same worn-out clichés repackaged with slightly different window dressing. When both women eventually return to a man who has repeatedly shown that he will never really commit to either of them, even the show's attempts to update the triangle, granting Taylor more agency and allowing Brooke moments of defiance, sound hollow. This never-ending loop causes collateral damage that goes much beyond the core three. The Ridge-Brooke-Taylor vortex is served by distorting or derailing entire character stories. Steffi's career goals, Hope's psychological collapse, and even Eric's health issues have all been marginalized or reframed to draw attention back to the soap opera's most overdone relationship. The show's concern with maintaining its senior stars in a state of constant love limbo stunts the growth of younger characters like Thomas and Douglas, who are caught in the gravitational pull of this narrative black hole. Once a fascinating examination of the politics of the fashion dynasty, the Forrester family history has been relegated to serving as the setting for Ridge's most recent midlife crisis. Who's sharing Ridge's bed this week is more important than even the business disputes that once gave the program substance. The fact that the triangle purposefully keeps none of its members from experiencing significant personal development is maybe the most annoying. Because the author's continuously regressing Brooke to a lovelorn ingenue, she is unable to advance as a matriarch or corporate leader. Taylor's position compels her to switch between an enlightened healer and a jealous rival based on the needs of the plot, which makes it impossible for her to maintain consistent character development. And because the show lacks the guts to either allow Ridge to change or make a definitive decision, he has become perhaps the most unchanging leading man in daytime television, a character who has learned nothing from decades of making the same mistakes and is destined to keep making them. The answer is to approach the triangle from a different point rather than necessarily ending it permanently because soap operas love romantic tension. What if Brooke eventually left for good, making Ridge face his habits instead of allowing them to continue? What if Taylor took back her autonomy and declined to serve as Ridge's token of appreciation? What if Ridge had been punished for his emotional carelessness rather being given incessant opportunities to make amends? The audience deserves narrative that honors these individuals' complexity rather than reducing them to romantic tropes because they are capable of so much more than this worn-out relationship permits. As the play around them tries to recall why we were interested in the first place, we are left with three gifted performers stuck in a Groundhog Day story, circling the same love drain. The tragedy lies not in Ridge's inability to decide between Brooke and Taylor, but rather in the bold and the beautiful's inability to decide between respecting its past and embracing the present.